Spend $35 and you could end up winning a Lamborghini from Mr. Beast. So win a Lamborghini for $35 with this sweepstakes from Mr. Beast and MSCHF. So let's go right into the story. Feeling lucky, like absolutely charmed member of Oprah's audience when they all received a brand new car lucky, then you might want to try your luck at owning your very own Lamborghini in a totally legit way with the Mr. Beast plus MSCHF Everyone Gets a Car sweepstakes. Entering to win costs less than a tank of gas, which is $35, and every purchaser receives a Lamborghini. It just might be a tiny toy, or a kid's ride on, or the real deal. MSCHF and Mr. Beast have teamed up to make sure literally everyone gets a Lamborghini with this sweepstakes. They're giving away over 2,000 in prizes with this giveaway, and all who enter get something. Every purchaser will be the proud owner of a collectible 1 out of 64, 1 to 64 scale toy Lamborghini, and then gains the chance to win a toy RC Lambo, a kid-sized Lamborghini, or a real Lamborghini Gallardo or Aventador for real. And you won't know what size you win until it arrives in the mail or rolls down the street. So MSCHF and Mr. Beast are giving away one pre-owned Lamborghini Aventador coupe worth over $250,000, four pre-owned Lamborghini Galarados worth $100,000 each, a 250 battery-powered kids rideable Lamborghinis, 2,500 1 to 24 scale remote control Lamborghinis, and a 164 scale die cast toy Lambo for every single person who enters. So let's actually check out this video for the thing. Everyone gets a car.
I'm selling this toy Lamborghini, and if you buy it, you can get this Lamborghini, or this Lamborghini, or this Lamborghini, or this real beautiful Lamborghini. Just go to everyone.
I gotta say, the Lamborghini Aventador looks absolutely amazing. Now, the thing to really understand, right? Like, I actually looked at the documentation for this actual sweepstakes, and it was actually very interesting, which I will cover after finishing the story. So, curious about the people behind the sweepstakes, MSCHF is a street art collective that creates products and experiences that mash up hypebeast culture, art, luxury fashion, and social commentary. And Mr. Beast is an American YouTuber and entrepreneur with over, I believe, 80 million subscribers now and over 13.2 billion views on his main channel. So make sure you get in on this Mr. Beast and MSCHF. Everyone gets a car sweepstakes to win a Lamborghini, blah, 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 blah. So basically, this is like a way to, like, number one, guarantee that you will get a Lamborghini for fun. But, yeah, only a few people will actually end up getting it. Now, here's the thing. This is the important thing to actually know. Because I was wondering this, because technically speaking, anything considered a sweepstakes, you must have a viable option that does not cost money, right? And there is actually a way to do this to where you do not have to spend the $35 to get the Lamborghini. Now, that being said, the way to actually do that is to actually go to the basically go to the video. Everyone gets a car on their YouTube video, right? Because they'll end up having a link to the actual like sweepstakes, right? And on the like their sales page, like their funnel, right? On the very bottom, you'll actually get to see like their documentation and all that kind of stuff because it's no purchase necessary, right? Because technically they legally have to make it where it's no purchase necessary because it is a sweepstakes. So technically speaking, on their sales funnel, you will actually see how you can go step by step in submitting basically like a written note, right? In the exact way that they describe to get an entry to this contest to potentially win a very free Lamborghini Aventador. So that's something to really think about, right? Imagine spending not just $35, but literally $0 to win a Lamborghini, which you technically could do. Because, again, this is a sweepstakes, and you technically do not have to spend money to actually do it. Now, that being said, if you're lazy, if you don't got much time, it's actually probably better on your time to simply just spend $35 for the entry. But if you're someone who has time on their hands, go through their sales funnel, right? Go to everyone gets a car on YouTube with Mr. Beast, right? And you'll end up having the sales funnel, and just go to the no purchase necessary link, click that, read word for word how to get it for free, like a free entry, and do that step by step, because this is the thing. You have to follow it step by step, which is why I'm not like reading it in this episode, because you need to do it step by step as to what they say in their no purchase necessary documentation, so that you could for sure actually submit a true entry, right? That being said, you probably will not win. The majority of people will not win, but everyone would typically get a Lamborghini if you were to actually get it, right? So this is the funny thing, right? Like technically everyone will win something. Technically everyone will win a Lamborghini, but which Lamborghini will you actually win? So I think it's like a pretty fun idea. I think it's incredibly smart as well for someone like Mr. Beast to team up with some sort of sweepstakes like this, because the amount of entries that they could potentially get is insane. And technically, no one's a loser, right? But here's another thing as to why we're even discussing this, right? Because I was curious as to the tax implications as to if someone were to actually win one of these Lamborghinis, right? Because the thing that you gotta understand, let's say that you win like a sweepstakes like this, where it's like a pretty high priced car, you are responsible for the tax implication, the taxes on that car. And the way that is typically viewed, especially in America, right, is this. Let's say that you're only making like 20K a year after taxes, typically per year. Well, if you get that Lamborghini Aventador, you're literally going to be like bumped up to the highest tax bracket, because that price point of that car is going to be viewed as like literal income, right? Meaning that $20,000 after taxes per year income that you have is now going to be over like $250,000 per year. So you're going to be in the highest tax bracket, and the only way you could pay taxes on basically $250,000 that you didn't have before is to literally sell this car or get a loan to pay the taxes. So that's something to really understand. If you were to go through this process of the sweepstakes and actually win, you have to pay the taxes to keep the vehicle or sell the car so that you can pay taxes. So really, you basically clear like half of it, right? Depending on where you live, right? So that's something to really factor in. Now, let's say that you were to actually win this car. Let's just say the Aventador, right? And you end up selling it. So let's just say after everything's said and done, taxes, expenses, blah 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 kind of stuff, right? Let's say to keep things just like simple, let's say that you end up being able to keep $150,000, right? Just to, actually, you know what, let's do 125, so that'd be exactly half of it, right? So $125,000. How do you manage that money? Well, if you were to get basically a free, randomly $125,000, what you need to do is do this in this step. Number one, have basically like a 1 month starter emergency fund if you don't already have that. Number two, pay off all your debt, every single cent of your debt other than a mortgage, right? And the reason why you want to be doing that is because it frees up your cash flow, your monthly cash flow to an unbelievable amount. And the reason why we say that is because imagine not having a car payment in your life. Imagine not having a student loan payment in your life. Imagine not having to pay the credit card company purely interest every single month, right? Imagine if the money that you were originally paying to all these different companies, these big corporations, were going straight back into your bank account towards your goals, towards your future. Like it just gives you a little bit more freedom. It'll help you stand up a little bit straighter, and you just end up having a little bit less stress in your life because typically the average American basically can't even survive like a $400 emergency, which is scary to really think about. So you pay off your debt. Then you create a true emergency fund. We're talking 3 to 6 months, and maybe that's going to be, who knows, maybe like 20 grand, 30 grand, depending on your specific financial situation. Then after that, you start putting money towards investments, and specifically investments that you can automate so that you don't necessarily think about it too much, right? Think of it like you're kind of doing like car payments or like credit card payments automatically, but into something that's actually for you, that's actually going to grow your money nonstop, exponentially, right? And the reason why this is important and that why you need to consistently do this towards your future is because with the power of compound interest, and especially depending on how early you start doing this, typically investing about $300 to about $500 every single month into something that has like an annual interest rate of, I believe, 7 to 10% per year will typically get you to a multi-million dollar net worth after a few decades. But you have to consistently do that. And so the earlier you start doing that, the more money you'll end up having, right? This is why it is so important to not have debt. It's so important to not have to be making payments to companies, right? Because the reason why you don't want to do that is because you are literally giving them a return on their money that they lent you. Whereas you want a return on your money that you invest, right? You want your money to work for you, not go the opposite way, right? You basically want your money to end up duplicating itself non-stop so that if you need it, you can access it. You could basically grow like a field of like money printing machines called dollar bills and compound interest and just have like endless amounts of money, right? Because the thing that people really don't understand is that no matter what your job is, you only have a certain amount of time in a day. You only have a certain amount of time in a week, only a certain amount of time in a month, right? So after a certain point, you are going to be capped as to how much money you could really make, right? Which means if you were to invest consistently in things that compound at that interest rate, right, it will get to the point where your investments will actually out earn what you can physically make in a single year, as long as you do that consistently, right? And a lot of people don't think like that, but this is where you could end up buying your time, right? And time is like the biggest asset of anyone, right? But it's a diminishing asset, meaning there's less and less of it as time goes on, which means it gets more and more valuable. So that's something to really think about. You want to be able to set yourself financially to where your money can work for you, buying yourself more time, more freedom to go do what you want to do, not what you have to do simply so that you can make a payment. So that's the way to really think about it. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com.